a warning to players and clubs. Professional sport is a breeding ground for addiction. I can see exactly where you're coming from with that one. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people on this podcast and obviously in my working life, and about struggles with retirement, probably more than anything, because you go from a dressing room. I mean, obviously you were having your struggles whilst a player, but when you actually cut off from that bubble and you go into kind of the wider world, does it get worse? People really do struggle with kind of retiring from professional sport, but if you've got that addictive personality and already got some underlying problems there, then I can only assume that manifests itself and magnifies itself.
Yeah, but my point would be to say that I think professional sports people have all got addictive personalities. That they are addicted to their profession. They're addicted to, to be able to reach that level. They will have been utterly obsessed with what they're doing. They will have the capability to hyper focus on something. They will be pushing themselves. Someone doesn't get to playing professionally without have it being, obviously having some talent, but more than anything, having this mindset around surviving and thriving and competing. And a lot of those personality traits are ones that are quite susceptible to running into addiction problems. So you have that mindset, and then you have this other side in professional sport where you judge yourself, or I certainly got caught into the trap of judging yourself by winning and losing. If you're winning or you're playing well, you're good in the world. If you're not good in the world. And it really being very binary around outcomes and results. So you take that person and then you move them into retirement. And we wonder why we've got problems. You're effectively pushing someone out there into the big wide world who's got an addictive personality, but no longer has that sport to perform in and do well in. They don't have the structure around them anymore, around training, competition, travel. That's gone. And they're also a kind of outcome-based person where they they define their happiness within the world around this kind of binary winning and losing. And now they're in the big wide world where it's not as clear as that. And we wonder why so many guys have troubles. And I think that's where we're not fast enough at the moment. We see lots of signs during a sporting career, and we don't really do anything because they're playing well, the team are playing well, it's all good and, everyone's happy. And then they wander off into retirement and we wonder what happened. And I think we've got to just do a little bit better than that in sport, to be perfectly honest.
Is it down to teammates and friends more than the actual person themselves? Because as we've discussed, it's not always the person that recognises the problem in themselves. The person is the master concealer, the person that tries to hide it and pretend everything's normal. It's almost up to the kind of the rest of the cricket team, isn't it, to actually say, well, Fred over there, he's really struggling with this. We need to kind of round up and do something about this. Kind of, I guess in an American term, intervention is the word.
Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's sort of phrase that's often used in, mental health campaigns, it's good to talk. And it absolutely is good to talk. And that's why it's important that we're having this discussion. But I think when you're in the depths of those problems, the last thing you want to do is talk. I definitely didn't want to. It wasn't about me being honest with someone else. I didn't want to be honest with myself. It's really, really hard to talk. So that's why I hope for a kind of society where we look out for each other a little bit more. And rather than kind of laughing along at someone's extreme behaviour, and sometimes in teams it can happen around, I get a guy who's, spent the last 5 days straight every afternoon in the bookies, rather than kind of laughing about it and thinking, I just loves a bet. I actually think, well, do you know what? We might just need to keep an eye on him here, because this is escalating into a place. It's not just boys being boys. This is something else. Or, it can be behavior around drinking or women or whatever it might be. The temptation is always to kind of laugh along with it and think it's boys being boys. And I think in those team environments, it's not just teammates, it's team management. I think you've really got to keep a close eye on that and not just judge everything by what's going on the field, because you've already mentioned some names. You can be highly successful on the field, and yet off the field, your life can be falling apart.